Before we dive in, your support truly matters. With 90% of our viewers still not subscribed, we need your help to keep bringing powerful stories like this to life. So please, hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and let us know where you're watching from by dropping your city in the comments below. Now let's begin. In the quaint little town of Maplewood, where autumn leaves twirled in the breeze and every street corner whispered forgotten tales of love and loss, lived a woman named Clara. Clara was the kind of woman who lit up a room without even trying, graceful, warm, and endlessly nurturing. She spent her days tending to her garden, perfecting recipes in her cozy kitchen, and being the heart of a home she shared with her husband, Mark. Mark, a dedicated software engineer, often buried himself in lines of code. Long hours, endless projects. His passion left Clara alone more often than not. Their marriage had grown comfortable, yes, but in that comfort, something had faded. The deep, late-night talks about dreams and passions had slowly turned into conversations about bills and errands. Everything changed one golden weekend evening. The scent of barbecue filled the air, laughter echoed through their backyard, and friends gathered under a dusky sky. Among them was Alex, Mark's college friend, newly returned to town. Alex was everything Clara hadn't realized she was missing. Charismatic, adventurous, alive. Their laughter was effortless, their conversations electric. As Mark mingled with guests, Clara and Alex found themselves lost in memories and what-ifs. "Remember that time we got lost on that road trip?" Alex asked, his eyes gleaming. Clara laughed, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "How could I forget? I was sure we'd crossed into another state." It was harmless at first, but as the weeks passed, casual chats turned into long walks and coffee meetups under the pretense of a shared community project. They talked about everything: hopes, regrets, fears. And somewhere along the way, Clara began to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Seen, heard, alive. One sunlit afternoon in the park, Alex turned to her and said quietly, "You know, sometimes life takes us to unexpected places, and it's okay to want happiness." The words hit harder than he probably knew. Clara smiled, then looked away. "I love Mark. I do, but sometimes I just feel stuck." Alex took a gentle step closer. "You deserve to feel alive, Clara. We all do." And just like that, the lines between friendship and something more began to blur. Guilt crept in. Clara started lying, to Mark, to herself. But Alex's presence had become her escape, her secret, her spark. Every stolen moment felt like a page from a book she never meant to read, but couldn't put down. One evening, as she stirred Mark's favorite stew, her eyes drifted to their wedding photo on the wall. The smiles looked like distant echoes, frozen in time, untouched by the quiet storm that now raged within her. "You okay?" Mark asked, walking into the kitchen with his usual warmth. "Yeah," she lied softly. "Just a long day." Later that night, sitting beside him on the couch, Clara felt like she was miles away, torn between two lives, two versions of herself, and a decision she knew she'd have to face. And then came the rain. Outside a quiet cafe, beneath the soft patter of droplets on the awning, Clara and Alex stood in silence, both knowing the weight of what hung between them. "Clara," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't keep pretending," Alex whispered, his voice barely audible over the rain. "This connection between us, it's real. It feels like we're meant for something more." Clara's heart thundered in her chest. His words echoed through her, awakening emotions she had tried so hard to bury. The idea of a new beginning tugged at her like a secret melody only she could hear. But so did the weight of everything she stood to lose. "This isn't fair," she said finally, her voice trembling. "Maybe we need to take a step back. For Mark." Alex's face fell. For a moment, he said nothing, just looked at her with a pain she couldn't unsee. "But what about us? What about what we found?" The storm outside mirrored the one brewing inside Clara. She knew she couldn't run from this anymore. Her heart was tangled, her loyalty split, and it was time to face what lay ahead. Not just for her, but for the man who had always been there. The days that followed felt like walking through fog. Every moment with Alex lingered like a memory that refused to fade. sweet and suffocating at once. Each time she returned home to Mark, she wore the mask of normalcy, hiding the emotional war waging inside her. Mark began to notice the change, the distant glances, the quiet sighs. Ever the thoughtful partner, he assumed she was just overwhelmed. Maybe it was work. Maybe it was the season. So he tried to bring back the spark. "How about a weekend at the lake?" he asked one evening, a hopeful smile lighting his face. "Just the two of us, like old times." Clara's chest tightened. "That sounds wonderful," she lied, the words tasting like guilt on her tongue. But deep inside, she knew this couldn't go on. The night before their trip, Clara sat silently on the edge of their bed, the weight of truth pressing down on her like an anchor. Her hands trembled. Her voice cracked. "Mark," she whispered, "can we talk?" He looked up from his suitcase, instantly alert. "Of course. What's going on?" Clara swallowed hard. "I've been feeling disconnected for a while now, and I think we need to talk about where we are. About us." Mark's face shifted, confused, concerned. "What do you mean? Are you unhappy? Is it work?" "It's not just that." She paused, every word a struggle. "I think we've lost something along the way." Tears welled in her eyes as she reached for honesty over comfort. Mark listened in silence, his hand finding hers. Steady, warm, familiar. "We can fix this, Clara," he said gently. "We always do. Just tell me what you're feeling." A tear slipped down her cheek. She had no choice but to speak the truth that had haunted her for weeks. "I've been spending time with Alex." Mark blinked, the name like a lightning strike. "It started innocently," Clara continued, her voice breaking. "But I developed feelings. I never meant to. I didn't want to hurt you." Silence, then. "You've been seeing Alex?" Mark's voice was cold, stunned. "Alex, my friend?" "I never planned for this to happen," Clara sobbed. "I was lost, and he was just there. But I still love you, Mark." His expression shifted, shock to disbelief, disbelief to pain. He pulled his hand away, as if her touch burned him. "I trusted you, Clara," he said, barely above a whisper. "How could you?" "I know I've made a mistake. A huge one," she said, wiping her tears. "But I want to fix this. I want to work through it. I had to be honest." Mark stood, pacing the room, his emotions a storm she couldn't calm. "Do you love him?" he asked finally, turning to her with eyes full of heartbreak. Clara froze. "I don't know," she admitted. "I care about him, but I love you. You're my husband." Mark nodded slowly, his voice low and broken. "But is love enough after betrayal?" The words hit her like a punch to the chest. She had shattered something sacred, and now there was no hiding, no undoing. "I don't want to lose you, Mark," Clara whispered. And in that quiet room, filled with love and hurt and everything in between, the future of their story hung in the balance. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." Clara's voice trembled with sincerity, her eyes pleading with Mark to see the remorse behind them. Mark stopped pacing. He looked at her, really looked at her, his gaze heavy with a mixture of sorrow and restrained anger. "You've left me with a choice I never wanted to make, Clara," he said quietly. "I need time." And with that, he walked out of the room, leaving Clara surrounded by a silence that roared with consequence. The truth was out. There was no going back. The weekend getaway they'd once planned as a romantic escape now loomed like a cruel reminder of all they had built, and all that now teetered on the edge. The next morning they arrived at the lake. The scenery was breathtaking, the stillness of the water and the rustling trees at odds with the storm inside Clara's heart. Mark remained distant, the silence between them growing louder with each hour. Small talk felt hollow. His responses came in short, clipped phrases. He was there, but not present. That evening, Clara stood alone on the porch, the fading sun casting golden hues across the lake. She closed her eyes, aching for the laughter that once echoed in this very air, the shared dreams, the closeness that had slowly slipped through her fingers. "Clara!" Mark's voice broke her thoughts. He stepped beside her, his features softened by the amber light of dusk. "Can we talk?" Clara nodded, heart pounding. They sat together on the steps, shoulders almost touching. "I'm sorry, Mark," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "For everything. I never meant to hurt you." Mark exhaled, running a hand through his hair, trying to untangle the pain. "I just don't understand. We were happy, weren't we?" "We were," she admitted, eyes glistening. "But somewhere along the way, I lost myself. I thought I could find that part of me again with Alex, but I was wrong." Mark looked at her then, his expression unreadable. "And now? I want to rebuild what we had. I want to fight for us, if you'll let me." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Mark spoke, his voice steady but tired. "Trust doesn't return overnight, Clara. It's not easy to rebuild something once it's been broken." "I know," she said quickly, tears sliding down her cheeks. "But I'm willing to do the work. Whatever it takes. I love you, Mark." He looked at her, and for the first time in weeks, she saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Hope. He reached out and took her hand, gently, not with certainty, but with care. "I want to believe you," he said, "but I need time. I need to process everything." As the stars emerged above them, Clara sat quietly, holding on to that flicker. The journey ahead would be hard, but for the first time in a long time, it felt possible. In the weeks that followed, Clara and Mark began the long, painful journey of healing. They attended therapy together, peeling back the layers of their relationship. The loneliness, the missed conversations, the silent cries for connection. Clara learned to express her needs without shame. Mark worked to understand the depths of her emotional isolation. It wasn't easy, but it was real. It was honest. And it was theirs. One afternoon, Clara met Alex for the last time. They sat across from each other at the cafe where it had all begun. "Alex," she began gently, "I've made a decision." His smile faded. "I'm choosing my marriage. I can't see you anymore." His expression darkened, not with anger, but disappointment. "I understand," he said, "but it doesn't change how I feel." "I know," Clara replied, her heart heavy, "but I need to be honest, with myself and with Mark. This can't continue." As they said goodbye, Clara felt a quiet grief for the path that would never be, but she also felt something else. Peace. She was choosing the hard path, the true path. Time passed. Slowly, moments of reconnection began to bloom. A shared laugh over dinner, a quiet walk without the shadow of guilt, small victories that felt like miracles. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, Mark turned to her. "You've grown so much through all of this," he said, a soft smile lighting his face. "I'm proud of you." Clara's heart swelled. "Thank you, Mark. I'm proud of us. This journey hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it." He reached for her hand. "I want us to keep growing, to find something deeper, together." "Me too," she whispered. "I want to rediscover the joy we once had and build something even stronger." As they leaned into each other, the past didn't disappear, but it no longer defined them. They were writing a new story now, together.